Fostering trust, cultivating trust by being friendly and engaged. This is about having a positive attitude. Think about it. Do you trust people who are crabby and negative? No. Why would you? Right? Even the simplest things like smiling can foster trust because we're less suspicious of people, right? If you're passing somebody on the street and they smile at you, we're more apt to trust them versus somebody who avoids eye contact. Wouldn't you agree? Look at that, eye contact. Eye contact's a funny thing in different regions of the country. When I was in corporate America, a regular stop of mine was in DC. I don't know if you knew that, in DC. I have an employee group in DC. And people were weirded out that as a Midwesterner, right,
Yeah.
that I wanted to engage in eye contact. I think they thought I was going to hug them. So it works differently in different sectors. But generally speaking, if you engage with someone, you're inviting that trusted relationship. And remember what I said early on, in our hurried and busy lives, sometimes we don't take the time to do that. And guess what? Now we're in a day and age of where eye contact is becoming less and less part of the equation. Derailers to being engaged and friendly. People who are angry, people who are bitter, right? We were talking about, what'd you say? People with tude? People with attitude?
Yeah.
People with tude, right? We're less to trust those folks. And that can really, really hurt a trusted relationship, right? Sarcasm. Who comes to mind? I'm not asking you to call them out, please don't. We're on video. But if you think about it, people who are passive aggressive, right? We're not sure if we should trust them or not. Are you kidding or you're not kidding? Was there what's that saying? Is there truth in jest? Right? And that doesn't foster trust. That fosters suspicion and speculation. Retaliation. Some people adhere to a moral code of an eye for an eye. Well, you did that to me, so I have the absolute right to do that back. Right? Sometimes people operate that way. And that doesn't build trust in a relationship. Let's talk about another factor that goes into how do you cultivate and how do you build trust. It's about being relevant. Well, what's relevance all about? Relevance is when we've got things in common with one another. It automatically implies that we can trust somebody. Think about it. Those of you that work in the same building, because you're familiar to one another and you share a space together, even if you don't know each other well, there's an implied trust that already exists. Because like, okay, you're my people. We're over there in building C. How'd I do? Okay, building C. Right? That shared space also automatically builds trust. Things we have in common with one another. The person earlier that introduced themselves and said, I'm a Minnesota sports fan. Go Gophers, you know? Right? We automatically have that connection, therefore, trust is implied. You connect with other people's wants and needs. And that's about truly being interested to say what's important to you, learning about one another, learning about your employees, right? Learning about their plans. What's top of mind for them today? I had a client call the other day, and all that was top of mind for her was that she had twin 10-month-olds, both with croup. She was not thinking about managing her career or her job at that time. But it was important to know that because it gave me perspective. And by me asking what's going on with you, showed that I was open to building a trusting relationship. Do other people find you valuable? Relevance, the true definition of being relevant is, are other people's lives better because you exist? So think about that with your colleagues and peers and the people that work for you. Are their lives, their work lives better because you're a part of it? And when you are, when their lives are better, you're more relevant to them. They care more. And trust is fostered. Empathy is another way that trust is built. And empathy is a funny thing, because somewhere along the way, we have gained a misunderstanding of what empathy is. Empathy is not a, you tell me what's going on and I'll tell you back what's going on with me. Empathy is more about when you say, how are you doing? It's about stopping and listening. Number one, right? Because a lot of times we buzz right by. How are you doing? Good, oh good, that's good, right? And then it goes yet another step further and says, how can I help with that? That's really empathy. And people who really try to understand us, we trust them more. Would you agree? All of these factors that we're spending time talking about here this afternoon, my hope is that they're tools for you to say, how do I build trust? And here's some to-dos, right? Another factor in building trust is about being real. It's about being authentic. It's about being, putting down falsehoods, right? When people try to be somebody they're not, we're not quite sure if we trust them, right? Because we're not quite sure where they're coming from. And is that how they just show up at work? Or is that how they really are? Right? And look at the word I used, real. Realness. They leave their ego at the door. This is about humility. Right? People who are always boasting, people who are always dominating conversation. It's hard to build those relationships with people, right? When they make it all about themselves. That can impede a trusting relationship. It's being true to others' expectations. It's about following through, doing what you promised you said you were going to do. Your team will trust you if you follow through with what you say. Because if you don't, then they're not quite sure what they can, right, get away with and maybe what they can't. We talked about exceeding expectations. Not only doing what you say, but even going above and beyond. Being credible. Being credible is being honest, right? And also, you know what else is included in this? Admitting your mistakes. When managers and bosses and supervisors can admit their mistakes to their employees, it buys you a lot in terms of how those relationships are solidified. Now, sometimes it's hard to do, right? Because as bosses, it's like, well, we shouldn't have mistakes. We're not telling them that stuff, right? But it's amazing how much respect and trust will be garnered from your folks when they see your humanness also. So does trust really matter? I would argue that trustworthiness can mean the difference between success and failure as a boss. So let's turn the corner on the compass and talk about agile innovation.